Welcome to another great science experience with Grandpa Tom. And oh, do we have an exciting performance for you today. We are going to see how global warming can cause earthquakes. Did I hear a laugh there? Well, I've got to admit it. First time I heard that, I laughed too. I said, yeah, global warming causes earthquakes. And the earth is flat. And nuclear power is safe and plentiful and too cheap to meter. And in a computer age, no one will have to work more than 2 hours. Now, these three myths have been debunked again and again, but global warming can cause earthquakes, and we're going to see today how it can be done. Now, underneath the earth is a great sea of magma, very hot, melted rock. And if this were real magma, I wouldn't be putting my fingers in it. But it's just room temperature water. But let's pretend it's magma, melted rock. And now I'm going to put some tectonic plates in here. The tectonic plates is what our continents are on. And they float around on the magma. And here is a tectonic plate. And I put these 2 jars of water underneath it to kind of stabilize it, because I want to put a mountain on top, which will stabilize it even more. Now, here is another tectonic plate, and it's going to float over here. And sometimes they float into each other. And to simulate that, I'm going to take this balloon filled with water, just the kind you might throw at each other on a nice warm summer day, and I'm going to use it as a spring to kind of keep these 2 plates pushed together like that. And now let's build the mountain even higher. And on top of that mountain, we're going to put a glacier. And I'm going to have to get the glacier right now. The glacier was in the freezer, getting nice and cold and hard. So here is my glacier. And I'm going to put it in here on the top of the mountain, where one would expect to find a glacier. And over here, as it melts, it's going to come out the bottom here. I put this on loosely so it won't come out too fast. And it'll flow down this river and into this basin here. Now, what I'm doing is I'm going to be moving all this ice as it melts and stabilizes this plate over onto this plate. And here it won't stabilize, it'll make it tilt. Now this is called a fault here, where the 2 plates come together and they move very, very slowly. But if you can destabilize them like that, they'll move quickly, one on top of the other. And that's called an earthquake. So we're going to let this sit here. Now, water is very heavy. This gallon of water weighs over 8 pounds. And in our glaciers are trillions of tons of water. So this can make a big difference when you move it from one place to another on a little floating tectonic plate or a little island on a sea of magma. And we're going to see what happens when this glacier here melts and runs into this catch basin. Now this is something you won't want to do. This is a little house, and I'm going to put it right on the fault here. And you don't want to build your house on a fault, because we'll see what's going to happen to that house later on. Now, all we have to do now is wait for that glacier to melt. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit. If you want to really know what's underneath the surface of the earth, get this book, The Magic School Bus Inside the Earth. It'll tell you a lot of the exciting things that go on underneath the earth. And if you want to learn how global warming can affect the earth underneath us, this is the book to get. Bill McGuire's Waking the Giant. Now, why don't you hear very much about global warming causing earthquakes? Well, because people laugh when you say it. And scientists don't like to be laughed at. Except for a few scientists like me who don't mind. But now we're going to just sit and wait. And I'm putting this clock over here. It's about 11:34 now, and we're going to see how long we have to wait for that glacier to melt. And while we're waiting for the glacier to melt, let's talk a little bit about global warming and climate change. Global warming is one aspect of climate change, and there is no doubt that it's human activity that is causing climate change. Now, things that are causing climate change are the burning of fossil fuels, the vast amount of animals that we raise and eat, the deforestation, we're losing our forests faster than we can regrow them, and all of this contributes to global warming and to climate change, which includes not only a warming climate, but the hurricanes we've been having. We had 3 very devastating hurricanes last year, and the wildfires that we see all around the world every year now. But probably the worst offender is the military. We spend in this world $1.7 trillion a year on our militaries. Now, if that money were put into fighting global warming, if all the very smart people who are working on military weaponry were working on reducing global warming, we would succeed. We would not be having these hurricanes. We would not be having these wildfires. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about my shirt. Great Rivers Environmental Law Center. They are the only public interest environmental law center in Missouri. And they're working hard to prevent global warming. One of the things they're doing is trying to retire the worst coal-fired plants in Missouri. They're doing other things. They're saving trees. They're working on environmental justice. So I would encourage you to visit Great Rivers Environmental Law Center. on the website. It's greatriverslaw.org. And while we're waiting for our glacier to melt, let's listen to a little earth music. Well, it's looking like we're getting pretty close to earthquake time. We'll see how much longer it takes. Well, how about that, folks? Did you see that earthquake? I mean, look what happened to this poor little house. I'd hate to live in that house. That's gone. Never build a house on a fault. And notice here, we still got a piece of the glacier left. It's not all gone. And here's that catch basin. Oh, we got a lot of water in there. And that way down this plate here, and it slipped underneath the other one. And that's what you call an earthquake. So you've seen it. You've seen how a warming climate will melt the glacier, which will make the water flow to a place where it destabilizes the earth beneath it, and boom, you've got an earthquake. And if you want to read more about this, here's a book to get. Waking the Giant by Bill McGuire. And the giant, of course, is the earth. And when you wake it up and it starts to stir, what do you get? Earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes. So there's an old adage, let sleeping dogs lie. And that goes for our planet too. Let's leave it alone. Don't mess with it. It's a wonderful planet. But when you do things like warm it up, fill the atmosphere full of carbon dioxide, you wake that giant up. And when that giant starts moving around, you could be very, very sorry. So be kind to the earth. And remember, this is Grandpa Tom's Experience Science. And we'll be back later with another great science experience.